as we have the saintly visit of His Holiness the Pope Benedict next Sunday, the bishops of Malta have sent us a pastoral letter to read to you on this occasion, special occasion that we have. But before we do that, I would like to reflect just for a few minutes on the Word of God that we have just heard. This is an occasion when we normally look at Thomas, who was not with the other disciples on the day when Jesus, risen from the tomb, from the death. He visited his apostles, his disciples, and gave them his forgiveness without reminding them of their betrayal, without reminding them of their lack of courage, and giving them his peace and his forgiveness and his healing. It is a day when we read this incident and we know of Thomas. We look at Thomas with doubts and with judgment too. We believe that Thomas was not as faithful as the others. I would like you to consider, being we, all of us Thomases, I would like you to consider also the positive side of Thomas. Thomas, true, had all his doubt. It's true that Thomas was not with the other disciples who had already started to believe when Jesus visited them. But can we ever remember that Thomas was the one who had the courage not to remain closed on the upper room, afraid of the Jews, but went out? The other disciples, Peter and the rest, they closed themselves in the upper room. They didn't want to go out and face the Jews because they were afraid that they will suffer the same fate as Jesus had suffered, death on the cross. And so they remained closed inside without venturing to go out and speak and say that they were disciples of Christ. No, they were closed. Thomas was the only one who went out. He was not afraid to say he was disciples of Christ. He probably was in the square saying, yes, I was with him, so what? He had the courage to do it. Today, when we are called to be truly Christians, have we got the courage to speak up, to say that we are Christians, to say that we come to Mass on Sunday, to say that we believe in God? Do we have the courage today to say this on our places of work? In our social gatherings, do we have the courage to speak up in favor of the Church when she is accused sometimes harshly and not balancing in judgment, or too judgmental ourselves of other people? Do we have the courage to behave like Thomas did when he went out? Yes, we are all doubters, but we need also to follow his courage and follow Christ. Having said this, this is a very, very short reflection on the side of Thomas that we very rarely hear. We always think of Thomas as the doubtful Thomas. We never look at him as the courageous person who spoke up for Christ. Now we read this letter from the bishops.